special treat for all you baseball and softball fans out there. Our guest is none other than Roman Bormet, representing both Rawlings Sporting Goods and Easton Baseball and Softball, two titans in the world of sports equipment. Get ready for an in-depth exploration of cutting-edge bat technology, the evolution of baseball and softball industry, and a journey through the storied histories of these iconic brands. Roman, welcome to the show. Tell everyone about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm in Kansas City with you guys, and you know, the podcast, I'm thinking, like, can we make it like the Kelsey Brothers podcast and kind of build this thing up? You know, they got it going on.
Yeah, I think we can get there. I guess that would mean I need to date Taylor Swift?
Well, yeah, I'm single,
Oh.
okay, and you're married, so I'll take Taylor, and then, you know, I think you'll be the other brother that's married with all the kids and all that.
Okay, I could be Jason.
Okay, you're Jason.
Jason's lovable.
Yeah,
Travis is the wild card, so I think this fits.
It probably fits better, yeah.
Now, Roman, I know you played college baseball.
I did. I tried.
At Missouri, and I will bite my tongue as a Kansas Jayhawk myself. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead, just to give everyone a little bit of backstory about yourself, give us the scouting report on Roman Bormet, the baseball player. What were the strengths? What were the weaknesses?
Well, first of all, do you know that I have a Big 8 record?
Tell us.
Do you know what the Big 8 is?
Yeah, it's the former conference back in, what, the 80s and 90s that became the Big 12 when the Texas schools came along, and potentially, you know, kind of ruined what we had in college sports. So, yeah. The Big 8 was special.
The Big 8, yeah. So before Mizzou was in the SEC, before they were, you know, then they were in the Big 12 before that. Before that, Big 8. But I have the most innings caught in the bullpen by any catcher in Big 8 history. Never to be broken.
That is, that feels made up?
No, I'm probably pretty certain that no one with 5 years of eligibility spent more time in the bullpen than me. But, yeah, I enjoyed my time there. I'd do it all over. It was a great experience getting to play college baseball. I was a very, very average ball player and good with it. But it ultimately, it led me to this job, which I've been doing the last 30-plus years, which has been wonderful. I mean, it you know, kept me in sports and what I like to do. So it enabled me to get here, which was great.
Awesome. So Rawlings is just down the road from Missouri. You got Columbia to St. Louis, right? Is that the natural connection, how you got started with Rawlings? You
know, ironically, I'm from a small town in Illinois, like kind of Mayberry. And there was an umpire that would do our games, and his last name was kind of like a town name. And so I asked him one time where he's originally from, and he told me, and it was my hometown. And I'm like, and he was obviously older. And I'm like, well, I know, you know, we had a bunch of mutual friends, so we would always just chat it up a little bit when he would come. He would come from St. Louis to do the games in Columbia, and we became friendly. And one time after a game, I saw him in a parking lot, and I said, hey, it's, you know, my senior year, and I knew he was in sporting goods industry, and I said, hey, if anything ever comes up, just keep me in mind. Well, his wife worked for Rawlings, unbeknownst, and they needed to fill a position. A traveling marketing position. They needed to fill it right away, and I'd already graduated a few months, and lucky enough to get the job. And 32 years later, here I am.
Wow! So you're traveling the country. Are you peddling bats? You're selling or pitching gloves? Is that what it was?
You know what? It was great. It was a semi truck with two trailers. It's called the Rawlings Sports Caravan. It was a great job for a kid that was straight out of college that loved baseball. It's a big show truck, and the first trailer was a museum, kind of an evolution of baseball and sporting goods, because Rawlings, as you may or may not know, is 135 years old. And then the back part was a museum, or was a workshop, where on the back trailer doors would open, and there was a lathe, and my partner would actually lathe bats and do a little demo on how players like their bats made. And back then, a lot of it was done by hand. Again, this was 30 plus years ago. Not like, obviously today, everything's a CNC lathe and computerized. But we would go from town to town, from spring training to the World Series to All-Star Game to, like I said, Little League parks and all over, just showing the Rawlings brand, and we're doing a little a show on the product.
That sounds like a dream come true. Like, as a baseball guy myself, like, grew up, loved the sport. Obviously, it became more than just a passion for me or a hobby. It became a career as well. Like, just traveling the country in what I'm imagining, like, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile of baseball bats and sporting goods.
That's exactly what it was. We actually did a couple shows with the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. Swear, it was at the Congress has a baseball game every year. Yeah. And the Democrats play the Republicans, and we were set up there, and the Wienermobile was there, and we did a deal at Field of Dreams. Mm-hmm. We do spring training. You get to meet. I got to meet some of my idols. I just traveled the country again, you're at the World Series, you're at the All-Star Game, minor league park. So it was baseball nostalgia for sure.
That's I was born a generation too late, because that sounds like an absolute dream job. Now, speaking to the past 30 plus years for you, how have things changed in terms of, let's look specifically at the marketing, because that was very much so like word of mouth, like, hey, my neighbor's son hits this bat and he loves it. It's the hottest thing ever. And now it's a little bit more like curtailed to the influencers, to the reviews. How have you seen it change? And is it for the better, or is it maybe not so much for the better?
Ironically, what you just said, is grassroots is always a big part. Right now, that's probably as big of a focus as we have. That we have like a dozen hit labs, what we call them, throughout the country, where they're actually mobile vans that take our products to the field. Because we just feel like anyone getting to put their hands on the product, because what we make, is still product. It's performance. It's feel. That's as important as an influencer. Now, again, there's several influencers out there that can really move the dial, so we certainly know that that's very important to us. But as important as it was 30 years ago is, still putting your hands on the product. So that part hasn't changed, that it's still very much product-driven, and the best product typically wins. But again, now, of course, we've got, all kinds of social marketing, which is a big deal. Yeah. There's not nearly as much print or ad that used to be a big deal. But the grassroots is still very, very important to us, which is the same as it's been 30 years ago.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I think it became very important to us, as speaking as a Just Bats employee here, real quick. We have been doing this online element for the better half of 2.5 decades. So operating only online as a bat company is, that's difficult. To get somebody to trust to spend hundreds of dollars on a bat without ever putting their hands on it. So for us to launch something like the Bat Assurance Program, where you get 30 days to actually swing it, hit it, because as someone that worked in the call center, we'd get calls and my son got this bat. Oh, he's only hit 10 times with it, but he doesn't like it. And now we're in a weird position. So just a self-plug real quick. The Bat Assurance Program, it's awesome. You get 30 days. You get to try it. You get to hit with it. And I think that's something that's important as we go into this world where, you shop online for everything you need. Right. Going down the line and speaking as a Rawlings and Easton employee, those are two mega brands in baseball. You're talking about Rawlings. You already mentioned it, the 135 years being in the industry. Easton obviously blew up in, what was it, the 70s, the 80s?
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s.
And now to have these two combined together, can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and what that's looked like from the inside?
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. Again, I've worked for both companies, and about 4 years ago, Rawlings and Easton merged. And really, it's been fantastic in the fact that you can really play off each company's strength. Rawlings has been a glove leader forever. Easton has been the bat leader, forever. And again, that changes, don't get me wrong. But those are our strengths. And then we also have, both companies carry catcher's gear. Rawlings is a baseball company, actual baseballs. So we've been able to play to each other's strengths. And And then again, our R&D is extremely important to us.
Of course, yeah.
So then you take the best of one company and put it with the other, and then the best of the other and put those together. And our initial goal was 1 + 1 = 3. And we're getting closer and closer to really, well, I think we've executed that in a number of different categories. We still have some certain places that we know that we need to get a little stronger, but it's helped both companies tremendously. And I would say without a doubt, it's been a great experience internally, and I think the market's starting to see some of those fruits come together.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, speaking as somebody that's been in the bat industry for 5 years now, where Rawlings was 5 years ago with bats to where they are now, it's a night and day difference. You saw it with the Icon and the way that thing exploded last year. Do you think that's a directly related or correlated to Easton's influence?
That's where, again, the R&D, the two companies have different R&D. So there's a little friendly competition internally, but also they're able to, take this concept or idea and then probably, tweak it because they get another set of eyeballs on it. And I think it elevated it. And again, our manufacturing capabilities, we now have more options.
Yeah.
So you try to pluck the best from each option, and it's elevated our bat business with both brands a bunch here just in the last 12 months. It's been a great situation.
That's yeah. What you guys are doing is night and day difference I've seen in the last 5 years. Looking at the upcoming launches, so looking at 2024 and beyond, is there anything that you could provide us that might be, insight or a sneak peek as to what we could expect in terms of bats this year?
Sure. There's going to be a limited edition Ghost fast pitch coming out here shortly. There's going to be a new Ghost next year, 2024, Ghost Bat, which again, that's been the leader in the bat fast pitch bat market. So that's going to be exciting. We've also, we all know about the Hype Fire, what that's done.
Oh yeah.
We've got a next level, a next level that will be. It's out there ways, but it's when it comes, it's going to come big. It's going to come very big. But it's down there quite a ways, so I can't give too much away. But I'm just telling you that one's going to be different than all of them, and it'll be fun.
Oh, that gets me excited. Now in 30 years. Looking back on it, what's just a bat that stands out in your mind? What's a bat that you think back on and think, oh, we nailed that one?
Well, this was before my time, but the core with Easton is the green Easton.
Oh yeah,
and the Black Magic.
Uh-huh.
I mean, those were the two iconic bats for Easton. And then Rawlings, when we came out with BB Core. Okay, so the Beezer bats were no longer in band. The number one bat at the time was a 5150. That was the first bat that was the highest performing that first year. So we couldn't make enough of those, and players were all trying to get them. And again, it's a huge change in the bat industry because you went from watching home runs at the College World Series, scoring 20 runs a game. And now there was like 1 or 2 home runs during the whole College World Series that first year because it went from Beezer to BB Core. So that 5150 was the best performing of those BB Core bats at that time.
Is there something to be said about when you make those big changes? So Beezer to BB Core or, that USA stamp of approval that came in a couple years ago.
Right.
It seems like in the first year or two, alloy rises. Just because is there something to that? Because composite is, a little bit more machine refined, and you've got to work with it a little bit more. Yeah,
I would definitely say that's the case. Because alloys, I'll say more consistent in the fact that you can't. You can still make a bat as hot as you want, but with alloys, you'll get the failure. It's always a game of performance versus durability. And then finding that line. So yeah, each year, whether it was, the USA bats were pretty poor that first year just in general because it was such a big change, and no different than the BB Core bats the first year. Like I said, I think they hit 1 or 2 home runs, College World Series. So yes, R&D catches up with it. You get better. You can stay within the rules, but yeah, each year each iteration gets a little better.
It makes a ton of sense. I mean, you guys are remaking bats. Could you walk through this process? It fascinates me, and I think our listeners would enjoy this. What it's like. I know you go from one bat to another, and it stays in a series. But starting a bat from scratch, say, okay, we would like to have a new hybrid bat. We want to have an alloy barrel, composite handle, different than anything we've ever built before. Just using that as an example. What that's like, what's that process? Does that take 6 months? Is that 18 months? Is that 3 years? What's it like to build a bat from scratch?
Well, first of all, you're talking to a sales guy.
That's true, but sell us on it.
I'm not an engineer, that's for sure. There's sales guys are C students. Those engineers are A students, So if you're starting from scratch, I mean, obviously it's a much, much longer process. If you've already got some framework to it and you're just tweaking it, and that's pretty much where the bat market is now. You're going to take, whether it's a 2-piece composite, a hybrid, or an alloy, and kind of tweak it from there is essentially what it is. Now, again, I like that the bat that's going to come out on down the road that's U-Trip is completely different. So I guess I should take some of this back, but they at least have framework to work with.
Yeah.
The biggest, one of the longest and time-consuming situations is when we have to get them certified, because you send it off to the bat testing places to get certified, and you may get 2 of the 4 sizes certified. Well, then you have to go back and figure out how to get the others certified and re-engineer a little and so forth. So that can take some time, and sometimes that will delay things just to make sure that obviously you can make it pass.
Yeah. And you're a sales guy. You said that. How often does a bat not pass certification? Are you trying to are you pushing it 4 times and tweaking, or is it pretty standard that it passes?
Well, I mean, obviously we do our own testing, so we feel like once we send it to be officially tested, that we're right there.
Okay.
So obviously we do all kinds of internal testing.
And that testing is just you hitting the ball over and over and over?
Yeah, I mean, we have air cannons, we have, computers, we have bat swinging machines, all of that to try to get it, a constant testing procedure.
Cool.
More than just hitting. That way we can test all the exit speeds, and it's similar to the test that they run anyway at any of the bat testing facilities. So typically we feel like once we send the bat to get tested, that it will pass.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, looking ahead at next year, just at this lineup we have, I know you hinted at something big coming in. That's got me excited. But what are, let's say, pick one from baseball, fast pitch and slow pitch, that just has you excited for the upcoming 2024 season?
Oh, well, no doubt the hype fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already kicked in. We kind of got on the tail end of the baseball last year when it got released. We've been airing those in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been amazing. So this year will be, this spring will be kind of the first full spring that we'll have that bat. And so obviously that we're super excited about that. It performs. It's been durable to this point. And so, yeah, that'll definitely be our leader. Again, the upcoming, we'll have a Ghost launch in 2024 for fast pitch. That's going to do very well, Ghost Advanced. So that'll be good for us in 2024. BB Core, I mean, the icon's there. The icon's there. It's already performing. It's doing great. Obviously, we've got some good reviews on it, and a lot of our teams have, our college teams have transitioned to that bat. So that's definitely the icon, which is also on the U-Trip side done extremely well here with the new release.
Yeah, we see it firsthand. We can't keep it on the shelves.
Yeah.
With a bat like that, and as a sales guy yourself, when you see a wave of it kind of hit, not necessarily out of nowhere, you guys expected it to be a good bat. Obviously, you have hopes for most every bat you make, but when it blows up to the capacity that it does, how does that affect the next year? So you're going to keep that series around, obviously, super successful. Are you building up for a second wave, or are you kind of status quo? Everything kind of stays the same in terms of sales, manufacturing? Oh, no.
It's very much when something hits like this, then it's all hands on deck. We work with our factories. We've got an excellent relationship, obviously, with our bat factories. Then you change your plans to because we have to make more. A lot of times you put them on airplanes and fly them over. There's a big expense in that, but we know that if there's demand for it, that bat market's a big deal, and it's a hot product. You need to try to feed that. So we definitely, once we kind of see the green light, it's all hands on deck, and we hit the gas.
The fire alarm has been pulled.
The hype fire alarm.
Hype fire alarm.
The hype fire alarm.
I love that. Now, okay, let's talk on the hype fire for just a second. Tell everyone in what way that's available. I know at the U-Trip level, is there going to be a BB Core hype fire?
No. Well, at this point, we're not sure.
Okay.
I mean, not this coming spring for sure.
Yep.
Again, whether that hasn't been determined yet, but not for this spring. So with the U-Trip, I'm sorry, ask the rest of that question.
Yeah. Just talk about that lineup with the U-Trip. Is that available in drop 12, drop 10, drop 8, drop 5?
No, we're drop 10, drop 8, and drop 5.
Okay.
Again, you guys, as soon as you get them, you're sold out in a couple days. Yeah. So if you guys get the email saying it's in stock, you better get it.
Gosh, we cannot keep them on our shelves.
It's been fantastic. Same, and the Icon too. The U-Trip Icon has also done well, and that's sold out really, really quickly. So
do you typically see a trickle down from BB Core? So the Icon, obviously the Bat Bros blew it up. They loved it.
Yep.
That was at the BB Core level. Do you see that trickle down to U-Trip because the BB Core performed so well?
Somewhat, but until that's kind of proven out there, then that's when it really accelerates. You'll see a little bit of that, but until kids start hitting it, or Bat Bros says, "Hey, this is the hottest bat going," that's really when it kicks in. So, because again, kind of to that back to the grassroots marketing part, people want to hit it, feel it, and know it's good. And again, with your guys, bat assurance program, if they don't like it, they can trade it for something else, which is good for the consumer.
Look at you. You're plugging for us.
Well, yeah. You guys are the best in the biz.
Oh, you're the man. Now let's take a step back from some of the talking in the weeds about bats here. Just looking at it as a baseball fan yourself over the course of your lifetime, how do you think baseball players have changed? Have the best baseball players, always just been the best baseball players, or with the rate and the knowledge we have at the youth level and the way we're training and building up athletes, is present day baseball player, in your opinion, better than a baseball player in the 70s or 80s?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, you look at a lot of these guys and they're just physically incredible, and I mean, I'll talk to friends. When I was in high school or when I was in college, I rarely saw anyone that threw 90 miles an hour, and again, played at a fairly high level in college, but rarely was a guy throwing 90. You go to a high school game, and I live in Texas, and there's 3 or 4 kids in our city that throw 90 miles an hour, which is crazy. So, yeah, I mean, all the analytics and so forth. I think the thing that has changed a little bit to the detriment is that too many kids play just one sport.
Yeah.
And I think that other sports help baseball. If you go play another sport, and it's better for your body too if you're having to use different muscles and your brain, just to take it's not 12 months of baseball.
Yeah.
So I think that part isn't necessarily healthy, but I think as far as players and performance and all of that, it's a whole another level than it was, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it would be hard not to, but, just looking back on it, I speak to my dad about the players he remembers watching. He grew up in Minnesota, so it was like Rod Carew and Tony Oliva.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about them, his eyes glow, but then you start to think about it, and I mean, as we evolve as athletes and humans, we're gonna advance and we're gonna get better and better. Is there any player you can think of that you think could have just, transcended time? Say pick a player from your childhood that you think still is, an elite player in present day.
I'm going to say Tony Gwynn as far as a hitter. Yeah. I read something the other day that Kyle Schwarber struck out more times this season than Tony Gwynn did in like 10 seasons. Or struck out twice as many times. It was some ridiculous number. But again, that's how the game's changed. Yeah. Schwarber's paid to hit home runs. I get it. That's the way. As
a leadoff hitter. Which is wild.
He's taking big daddy hacks for sure.
Yeah.
But again, Tony Gwynn was a guy that I think could hit no matter who was pitching, especially now that there's no shift. Well, although Tony Gwynn probably would have figured out a way that they couldn't have put a shift on him, just because he's that guy that was always going to find a way to put the ball in play and hit it hard. He could hit for some power too. Plus, I got a chance to meet him a couple times and might be the nicest guy I'd ever met in baseball.
Really?
Yeah, phenomenal human being. So, that's who I would go with that could still get it done today, no questions.
That's a common answer. Like you hear that all the time, and it makes. I remember the very tail end of Tony Gwynn's career, but it's something that you think about, and you think of Field of Dreams, and you think about these legends coming back and playing. And I find myself thinking, I think the best of all time are simply just the best of all time. That second tier might be, better nowadays than it was. But I do think there are players like Tony Gwynn that could transcend any time in baseball. There's a white ball coming at you. He could hit it.
He could hit it.
He could hit it with a tree branch. Like it wouldn't matter. Now, shifting that question a little bit more, because Tony Gwynn, I don't think is going to be this answer. Who's the greatest athlete you've ever seen on a baseball field?
Greatest athlete? Wow, probably athlete would have been Eric Davis.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Again, that was my era. Uh-huh. But he could hit when he was healthy. Again, he got hurt quite a bit. But when he was healthy, could hit for power, hit for average, was fast. Had a great arm, and he was probably the best athlete that I could remember.
Oh, I didn't get to see Eric Davis, but all accounts.
That just shows that I'm old.
It shows that I'm young.
I'm old.
You're not old. Now you're a Cubs fan, right?
I'm a diehard Cubs fan.
You grew up a Cubs fan. Obviously, Eric Davis. Did you see him in Wrigley?
Well, I mean, on TV.
Yeah.
So I grew up about 4 hours south.
Okay.
And I grew up a Cubs fan. Well, my parents were from Chicago, but again, grew up in that small town, Illinois. And I would come home from school, and the only TV station that was on at the time was WGN, and they carried the Cubs games, which were always in the day because they didn't have lights until 87 or 8, 1987, 1988. I can't remember which year exactly. But so you'd get home from school, 3 o'clock, and it's in the 5th or 6th inning, and you'd watch a couple innings of the game and then go out and play. But, yeah, so that also helped me be a Cubs fan.
Okay. And now that would have been, you're Ryan Sandberg?
Ryan Sandberg.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was my Cubs guy.
Okay.
No doubt.
Yeah. WGN, came through my childhood as well. So I did a very similar thing with it. Would that have been Harry Carey?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it was Jack Brickhouse for a while.
Okay.
Then Harry Carey's with the White Sox. Then he went over the Cubs kind of midway.
Uh-huh.
And then, he took him the rest of the way.
Okay, so
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you know who hit the first home run in the night game at Wrigley Field?
You were saying, you're saying it'd be 87, 88?
Yep.
Was it a Cub or was it an away player?
It was an away player, but he's got a Mizzou connection.
Oh. Ooh. I need one more hint.
He played quarterback at the University of Missouri as well.
That's not helping at all.
You're young. See?
I am young.
You're young.
I am
I'm
young,
old.
and I went to Kansas, so I don't really mind
Okay.
much Missouri history.
Well, it was actually Phil Bradley.
Oh yeah.
And he was a leadoff hitter for the Phillies. Now, do you know what his where his hometown is?
Is it in Missouri? No.
It's a small town in Illinois.
No.
Yeah. So Phil grew up in my hometown.
No way.
I should say I grew up in Phil's hometown
No,
because Phil's older and obviously a major league all-star. But he hit the first home run in Wrigley Field. So they were playing it and they knew a storm was coming in.
Uh-huh.
And it was off Rick Sutcliffe. And I remember it like I was sitting here today because Phil was, my idol. I think he's 9 years older than me.
Okay.
Went to Mizzou, played football, was a starting quarterback for 4 years. Then he went on to play professional baseball for about 10 years. And he led off the game and the wind's blowing out because his front's coming through. And he hits it out and I am jumping up and down. And now I'm a Cubs fan, although Phil Bradley's my guy.
Yeah,
and he just hit it out because there's this huge wind. Well, so the game actually gets canceled. So on the
Doesn't
record
count.
books, right, it was before the fourth inning. It gets blown out. Rain, lightning, huge storm. But he hit the first home run at Wrigley Field during the night game.
You were living through him.
Absolutely. Everyone in my town was.
Think of that for him. Have you talked to him? Have you ever met him?
Yeah. Phil and I are decent friends and acquaintances. So we talked. It was. I can remember it. I was sitting in a friend's living room and I was screaming and yelling, and it was fun. Small town. Yeah, small town guy he made it big.
Is there any tribute in your small town to this moment?
Not to the moment. It's obviously a trivia question at the Sports Corner bar.
I'm thinking like water tower. It's got something.
Well, the high school baseball stadiums, the Phil Bradley Stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And does it? Oh man, I can't imagine. For me, that would have been like Kauffman Stadium here in Kansas City, but I couldn't have even hit the first home run at a night game there. So that's a great trivia question. I would imagine you stumped most of our listeners right there.
Oh, I'm sure just about all of them, unless they're from Macomb, Illinois.
Yeah.
So,
how close is that to St. Louis?
what's interesting about Macomb is it's about halfway between Chicago and St. Louis.
Is it divided or is it
completely divided?
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost 50-50.
With the Cardinals' reach throughout the Midwest, I imagine. Because the Cardinals,
Yeah.
My grandfather grew up in Arkansas, and they were Cardinals everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because they go to the top of the hill, they get it on the radio. they as a family gather around, they'd listen to the Cardinals games. So I know that firsthand. And my grandpa didn't necessarily love that I was a Royals fan, and I was like, they're in my backyard.
Yeah,
like I grew up in Kansas City. But yeah, the Cardinals have a huge reach. What's it like at Mizzou? You know, Cardinals v. Cubs.
Cardinals? No, it's all Cardinals.
It has to be, right?
Yeah, it's all Cardinals. I mean, the Royals, it's 50-50.
Really?
When it's Cardinals-Royals. But yeah, no, it's all Cardinals. No Cubs.
Okay. Now, speaking as a Cubs fan, a lifelong Cubs fan, going to set the stage real quick.
Okay.
It's November 2nd.
Yep.
2016.
Yep.
There's a rain delay.
Yep.
That's a little nervous. We come out of it. Rajai Davis hits a home run.
Yep.
Things are a little shaky.
It was shaky.
You've got a lifetime of
108 years of it. Yep.
You're starting to think about like goats from 100 years ago that were banned from the stadium. Chopper to Chris Brown. Or Chris Bryant, sorry.
Yep.
Chris Bryant. Chopper to Chris Bryant. Throws it across. Rizzo catches it.
Yep.
It's over. What's going through your mind?
Well, first of all, one of my kids had already gone to bed because they were Cubs fans because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and it was like I think one was 16 and one was 12.
Okay.
So one had already gone to bed because of the rain delay and it was late.
This is your daughter went to bed, right? Or did Cade go to bed?
Actually, I think Cade went to bed because he had early morning practice the next morning.
Okay.
But then, that happens. I mean, it was this exciting relief.
Yeah.
Like you were so excited, and I'm jumping up and down and high-fiving and hugging in my pajamas because it was about 11.
It was late.
11:30,
Yeah.
something like that. And then it was also relief, like, oh, finally. So, yeah, it was fun. And, that's what makes baseball great. That's what makes sports great, is that you have that connection with teams and especially with Cubs. And, I'm an old man now, but I remember going to Wrigley Field the first time with my grandfather and my dad when I was probably, 7 or 8 years old. And
Goosebumps.
Yeah, I remember. I can remember like it's today. And Wrigley Field back then, they'd always talk about tearing it down because it's terrible. It was this whole pile of crap, and there's about 12,000 people there. But my dad and my grandpa, and I remember we paid some guy $3 to park in his driveway, and my grandpa and I walked in there with my dad, and that's fast forward 45 years later, and you still have those memories. So that's what's great about baseball.
Yeah, it wells up. It's as a Royals fan, I can't speak to the Cubs. That's generational. I mean, that's your grandpa. Like, you're thinking about that moment when all this relief rushes out of you.
Yeah.
But I had seen one winning season in 26 years of my life.
And then you had the big one.
The year before.
Yeah.
The year before, same thing happens. We win Game 5. Not as exciting of a game, but I would have preferred it that way over the stress.
It's nerve-wracking.
The stress you had to endure. So, that's just a firsthand testimony to baseball's power, the way it can captivate a city. And I can only imagine what Chicago looked like in that moment. Were you in San Antonio at the time?
Unfortunately, I didn't get there. I was trying to, but I couldn't. But, this makes me think of, I'm waiting for James Earl Jones to come in the background and start speaking, this is what baseball was about.
Adam can get that. Adam's going to produce that right here.
Yeah. That's where, yes, this is what baseball is all about, Tyler.
We don't even need the drop anymore. You just did it.
Yeah, but that's what it makes me think of. When he and Ray Kinsella are, and they're at Field of Dreams and he's giving his speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now.
Full circle, at 3 years old, my grandpa took me to Field of Dreams in Iowa.
Yeah.
Ran the bases, and, he showed me the movie, and I didn't get the first, hour of it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? They're just at a man's apartment.
Right.
Picking him up to drive across the country. I don't any of it. But then the baseball part of it, they come out of the corn. It's just, it has so much allure, so much nostalgia, so much love. There's familial ties. It's why it's my favorite sport.
Yeah, they didn't have any launch angles or spin rates back then. So
there was no review process that would have kept my Kansas City Royals from winning 1985's World Series.
And the strike, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
right. Would have been not a thing.
No,
nobody would have noticed.
Been overturned.
His life would have probably been a lot more normal.
Right, and you probably would have preferred it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Well, anyhow, Roman, do you have anything you want to end with?
No, man, it's great being here. You guys are, like I said, best in the business. Fun to be here. You guys are great to your customers and great to your accounts, and we appreciate it. And always fun. You are the man. We can't thank you enough for coming on. Buy all your Rawlings and Easton equipment at Just Bats or Just Gloves. Roman's the guy that hooks us up with all of it. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it as always, and hopefully we'll get you back on sometime. Yeah, I'm going to head to the 643 Lounge right now. That sounds incredible. We'll see you down there. Later. Thanks, Roman.